Hey there, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Curtis, and you're watching my YouTube series, specifically the Celebrate Recovery Daily Devotional series. Again, this is not my material, it's CR's. I just read it and talk about it. I'm going to start making that a new thing every time I turn the camera on, y'all. But I got plenty of sleep. I don't know what's going on. Today we're on day 92, The Trouble with Grudges. Matthew 6:12-13. Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. The only possible way we could avoid being hurt by others would be to live completely alone. As long as there is more than one person, hurts will happen. They are the cutting edge of every relationship. We can't keep ourselves from getting hurt from time to time, but we can control our reactions, and that is seriously important. One of the ways we often react to hurt is by bottling up the resentment until it becomes a grudge. We reason that as long as we hold on to that hurt, the person who hurt us isn't getting away with it. Unfortunately, those who hurt us are often unaware, and we end up harboring a grudge that only keeps us from healing. Revenge is another way we might react to being hurt. We feel sure that getting even hurting back as much as we've been hurt, will relieve the pain and satisfy our longing for justice. Instead, revenge just poisons our souls and keeps us focused on the past. I'm going to reread that part in case you didn't hear it from me yawning. Revenge just poisons our souls and keeps us focused on the past. The only sure way to get rid of hurt is to forgive the one who hurt us. By forgiving, we call the debt settled, and it no longer has power over our lives. No wonder God asks us to forgive. He knows it will always be for our good. Prayer, thank you for helping me to forgive those who have hurt me. I can see that holding grudges and seeking revenge only keep me anchored to the past. In Jesus' name, amen. This is another big one, because over my, how old am I, 35 years, there have been many and lots of yawnings apparently, but there has been many people who have harmed me or upset me. And for me, I have learned that when I actually hold on to it, just like what the book says, I have more negative stuff happen in my life the longer I hold on to it, if that makes sense. Just because when I'm feeling down and upset over something and holding on to something, nothing else in my life seems to go right. And that's just natural. So sorry, I'll do jumping jacks here in a minute. But that is just the natural progression, because whenever we're holding on to something, we're not really focused on anything else. We're just holding on to that negativity and holding on to those feelings of inadequacy or whatever it may be. In the situations most recently, especially during active addiction that I was harmed, I have learned to forgive those, especially this one individual, because it was all around them. Like, anywhere they went, they caused hurt to me, my family, the whole works. But for me, I have learned to forgive that person because, one, they were also in active addiction, and two, they didn't know what would upset me and what would... So sorry, y'all. They didn't know what my boundaries were. At times, this person did know what they were and intentionally pushed me to my breaking point for mere amusement and for mere, only I can assume, power, because whenever this person felt they had power over me, they were more cocky, arrogant. They were more all the derogatory. They just felt, I would assume they felt more in control. But again, I can't estimate why or what they got out of making me feel bad. I can only control my reactions. So it really wasn't until this last few years that I've just forgave them for all of that, because there really isn't a rhyme or reason as to why I chose to forgive them, but I chose to forgive them because I got tired of holding on to that. And after so long in recovery or living with mental illness, you just get tired of holding on to the stuff that holds you down, because you want to be happy, you want to be successful. And when we're holding on to that, it can affect us in the workplace, with our friends, at church. It can affect us everywhere when we're holding on to those grudges of those that have harmed us. And just like the book says, forgiving them is what we were given by God. So it's only natural to want to share that forgiveness and share that positivity that He brings by being in our life, and that positivity of knowing I'm going to be okay. Because, and I've said this before and I'll correlate it here, whenever we are in a moment, or, hold on, let me think of my words here. It's culmination, the train left the station, but it didn't come back around again. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I had so much going through my head, I couldn't figure out which train to hop on, y'all. But whenever we're in the moment and we are experiencing these feelings of upsetness, sometimes it'll read on our face. Sometimes it'll read on our emotions and how we interact and everything. But the peace of mind that comes from forgiving somebody from a hurt, habit, or hang up that they have caused you is the most powerful thing we can do. Because when we're no longer focused on all that negativity and all the reasoning behind, he did this because, she did that because, all these things are going through our head, and it's not allowing us to be focused in the present, in the moment. It's not allowing us to be free. And this is something that I'm actually having to work on right now. I'll admit to y'all, this is one tool in the toolbox that is hitting me hard right now, because there is an individual who has caused me significant hurt, pain, and trauma, but I can for the life of me seem to get over it. I don't dwell on it. I don't allow it to ruin my day or allow me to focus here and there. I just choose to not be around this person and not interact with them and not allow them back into my realm of criticism, because the people in my realm are the people who lift me up, are positive. They too can struggle too, but they communicate that with me. They let me know, hey, I need alone time, or hey, can we go do this as friends time? That communication, whenever we're experiencing these hurt, habits, or hang-ups, or these grudges, is the best tool I can offer to you right now, because I've been fine. It's not a negative thing that is affecting my life. I have went through it, I processed it, and now I'm choosing to rise above it. But at the same time, I can stand firm on my ground and not allow myself to be around this person again, because of the trauma. But then it has been brought up that as a pastor, we're supposed to love everybody and treat everybody the same and give the same acceptance and love that we were given. So I'm in this very fine line of what to do with this situation. I don't know. This kind of went astray a little bit, and I'm sorry for that. But for me, I try to keep myself grounded and focused in the present and the here and now. And yes, just because they did it once doesn't mean that they'll do it again. However, when actions show that things have not changed with them or how they are interacting with people, that's mainly what I go off of. I go off of actions, because people will say one thing and do another. Pay attention to what they do. If they have the hope and the light and the positivity, then they can back it up. Follow what people do. That's the number one thing I can show you or explain to y'all. But as a person in my position, I can try to minister to this person, but for me, ministering to this person, even if this person called up and said, "Hey, I need to talk, are you free?" I would listen to them and try to talk to them. But as far as like a social setting and everything, I'm on the fence with that. This is going to be a real talk lesson. I started in one place and now I'm in somewhere else. But for me, go off what your gut says and what your heart says. Because when we forgive those grudges that have been holding us back, we succeed more in life. Later on, I'll probably write a letter, get my feelings and emotions out, and then see where I am at the end of that. But when we're in these trying times that we're like I'm in myself or in the real world or whatever, I say the real world because this is YouTube world. When we're in these trying times, we need to remember His grace and His demeanor of being nice to thy neighbor. And the main rule is treat others how you want to be treated. And for me, I tend to take a step back whenever those rules are broken, especially if they come from a person in crisis. Because for me, if that person is in crisis and they're acting out this way, how am I supposed to take that? Because, especially if they're lashing out at me, because they're not themselves, but what they're saying and doing is harmful and causing me to feel bad. Do you give that person a second chance, or third chance, and fourth chance, or do you just cut them off completely? Like, this is a question I'm asking to y'all. Like, what do you do when you're in this situation? Because for me, I'm going to flip this around here. For me, when I've been in crisis and acted out against somebody, there was somebody there to kind of like snap me back into place because of the negative things that I had to encounter because I was acting this way. The punishment and the consequence, that's the word I'm looking for. The consequences of negatively acting out in a crisis is what helped steer me straight on my road. Because if I act out, I know that this is going to happen. But at the same time, if I'm around people who know my situation, I'll be like, hey, this is going on. I'm going to be over here. Y'all can be over here. I'm going to be over here because I need some time. I need some me stuff. But that's where the power of the toolbox comes in handy. Because if we know these things about ourselves and we know these things are going to happen, we can choose what to do with ourselves in these crisis situations. Like for me, when I'm in crisis, my symptoms are moody, anger, a little bit witchy, I'll be honest, can depend on who I'm interacting with, or severely depressed. But no matter the emotion I'm feeling, my course of action is always going to be the same. I'm going to listen to music. I'm going to take me a little baby nap. I'm going to do things that I enjoy that requires zero effort, and I'm going to remove myself from whatever active situation is causing me stress, anxiety, or whatever. It's happened before where I've been shopping with somebody and I was having a moment, so I went over here and looked at shoes or whatever and just deep breathed. We have to remain vigilant, even if we are in a crisis, that our actions have consequences. And for me, that's the most important thing that I could do in that situation, is just remove myself from it to avoid the negative consequences. Because to be in a crisis is a-okay. It's 100% valid. It happens to everybody all the time. But what you cannot do is blame somebody for being mad at you for how you reacted during that crisis, because you didn't have the developed toolbox. You didn't have the things set in place for your own well-being, because we're in charge of our own lives. And when it comes to these situations, if we know we are prone to them, we need to have systems in place to help protect ourselves and those around us when we're in a crisis. I know this has been a 17-minute video, and I'm sorry for that. Kind of gone on a little bit of a rant there. But at the end of the day, the trouble with grudges, as this lesson says on day 92, is to basically just forgive. Don't forget, because that's not part of what I'm trying to say. Just forgive and let God and let go. Thanks for watching. See ya.